You're an amazing recording artist as well as live performer. Which do you prefer? Or do you feel like you can't really compare the two?
For a performance, you're just going for all the grand gestures, and if you miss a note here or there, it's really okay. For a recording, you're just preparing much more meticulous. The whole mindset is completely different, and it's very challenging because I perform all the time, but a record I make once every few years. So it was a really grueling process.
You specialize in 20th century music. How did that come about?
I just got immersed in doing this. When you play a second keyboard with an orchestra, such as the LA Phil, the only repertoire that's been composed that includes two keyboards is 20th century repertoire. They never did this prior to that. Mm-hmm. So every time I got to work with the LA Philharmonic, it was when there were two keyboards and it was when they were doing contemporary music. So I got steeped in doing this, got to work with the greatest conductors of our time, got to collaborate with some of the top composers of our time who would come through for Green Umbrella concerts, and so it was a great education. Mm-hmm. I started when I was pretty fresh out of school, and I just got hooked.
Is there a difference in the fulfillment you get from performing pieces by the old masters, like say Beethoven and Rachmaninoff, and the newer composers of the 20th century?
It takes me someplace new.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm familiar with the thrill of listening and playing Beethoven, and it is a great thrill, as it is listening and playing Bach or Mozart. Mm-hmm. But the thrill of playing new music and having the composer standing right there often is that it takes me to places that I never ever could have imagined before. Mm-hmm. Completely new terrain. And when you're first working on it, my reaction is probably the same as it is for a first-time listener. It's like, what is this about, and where is this leading me? I don't get it. And then a month or two later, when you're spending that much time with it, you get inside a completely new world, completely new planet, completely new universe that you never had imagined, and it's 9 times out of 10 ingenious and just so imaginative and inventive that I never could have foreseen going there. Mm-hmm. So that's the thrill of doing the contemporary music.
What do you do to wind down when you're not practicing or performing?
I listen to non-classical music. I revert to the 1970s and just listen to stuff that I grew up listening to, and
just fun stuff.
Fun, not intellectually challenging stuff.
Yeah. You have a lot of famous composers writing pieces especially for you. How do you go about learning a new piece with no reference to previous recordings?
Well, you just dive in and start groping. And the first week or two, you're just walking down blind alleys and trying to feel your way and learn the lay of the land. It's a slow awakening to what's going on. Mm-hmm. The learning curve for music like this that has often no precedent and does not necessarily refer to previous musical languages it's steep. Mm-hmm. It just if I sit down and start reading through a Mozart sonata that I've never played before, I basically know what comes next. But with this, I have no idea what the next note is going to be. So it's slow, but little by little, mm-hmm. It takes patience, it takes time, mm-hmm. But I have faith that I'm going to end up somewhere really interesting mm-hmm. at the end of the process. Mm-hmm. Well, there's never an end of the process, but right. Once I've actually learned the piece and get it ready, it's always an interesting place to be.
Can you tell us about your most recent album?
Well, Esa-Pekka Salonen has been the conductor for the Los Angeles Philharmonic for close to 20 years, mm-hmm. I think. And I've worked with him a lot. And in addition to being one of the most gifted, brilliant conductors around. He's also an extraordinary composer. And he took a break from composing for a couple decades to become principal conductor of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, but he has always somehow found time to compose in spite of all this other music in his head that he was conducting. So he wrote a piece for me, which is on this new recording called Dichotomy, and he composed it in the fall of 2000, and I premiered it in December of 2000 in LA and New York. And I wanted to make sure that I got it recorded one of these days. So now 8 years later, I'm doing that along with his other piano pieces. Stephen Stuckey, who just got the Pulitzer a couple years back, has been the de facto composer in residence. He's the new music advisor to the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And so he and I have gotten to know each other a lot over the years from being around the LA Phil. And he is just another just gorgeous composer. And I love his music. And he and Esa-Pekka being friends, and the three of us being pretty good friends, I wanted to record both of them. Between the two of them, they didn't have enough music to fill out a full CD. They had maybe, between the two of them, their complete solo piano works made up maybe 40 minutes or so. So I thought, who can I add to the mix to make a 60, 70-minute CD? So Witold Lutoslawski seemed to be the right person because Lutoslawski was one of the most important composers of the 20th century, and also Esa-Pekka and Steve look upon him as being their musical forefather, and the two of them being musical brothers. So the three of them seemed to be the right mix. So I needed to find a piece of Lutoslawski's that would go on this record. I talked to Steve about it, who was very close friends with Lutoslawski, and I asked Steve Stuckey, what do you think? Do you have any recommendations? And he brought up the idea of this piano sonata of Lutoslawski from 1934, only published 4 years ago in 2004, never recorded, hardly played. So I thought, okay, I'll go for it. So that's the record.
Gloria, thank you for taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.